The thumbnail says it. Assassin's Creed Odyssey is a steaming pile of shit that is forced down your throat through and through. Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Farik and I'm a game developer, and recently I played Assassin's Creed Odyssey again and I realized how bad this game is. While bad might not be the correct word, the game is beautiful, writing is good for the most part, the main story is enjoyable, there are side quests that do put you in uncomfortable situations that I consider myself the audience for that type of stuff. On the technical aspect of things, it's well made. I didn't confront any major bugs. The combat feels good at times. All around, it's a very good game. It's a very good, well-made game, except on the design department, which could be good if not for some weird-ass decisions and for money-grabbing intentions. But it could be much better. But if Ubisoft weren't such a good company, I wasn't making this video and you weren't watching me rant about these decisions, so get comfy while I show you how Assassin's Creed Odyssey is probably one of the most tyrannical games out there. That's a weird sentence to say, but trust me, it will make sense. And before I fully begin the video, consider subscribing if you want to see weekly content like this. And we begin. So I said at the beginning that this is my second playthrough, and you might think, why is that important? Or you might be, Farik, this game is so long, why did you do this? As for why, it's because I was searching for something, but I realized something far worse in this game. According to the ultimate source of truth, Wikipedia, an open world is a virtual world in which the player can approach objectives freely. Emphasizing on the freely because nothing's free in this game. It always comes at a cost. And aside from that, this game is also an RPG. I'm not talking about the role-playing aspect, but the progression system that almost always comes with the RPGs. That's for another part of the video, but I had to mention the progression for this part. Because in most RPGs, you can do the main quest, which is the main driving force for motivation for actually completing the game. And for that, you must progress through the game and become stronger in one way or another to actually satisfy that sense of progression for the player and all of that. But here we see this being abused and held hostage because the main quests do not push you far enough for the next main quest. And you have to start grinding other activities so you can progress through the main quest. And you might say, oh, Farik, why is that a problem? I would say it's not, because it's a common practice for designing RPG games. But this is without a doubt a problem, because they're selling the solution to it. And know before you click off, this is not another video about microtransaction in video games. While it is, I'm trying to go deeper than that to offer you an insight on it's not just about forcing you to play Sidequests or some other activity that you don't like because you're not paying up. It's more that the progression, in this game at least, should be forced down your throat every time you are doing anything so you can be reminded to buy the microtransaction. And that should happen in a consistent way. And it's different than mobile games, which is pushing you to the shop window every fucking minute. First, about the combat and the talent tree and the itemization, is that it takes a long time to get where it should be, which is leveling up and becoming more powerful and feeling good. I'm not talking about the talent tree right now, just the itemization and leveling up, because all the enemies are scaled close to you. In this game, the regions are scaled up to a certain point, and the content that you can do, at least in Nightmare difficulty, the difficulty that I played both times, falls in range of whatever your level is, and add 1 or 2 levels to that. And the scaling scales everything that is below you up to a certain point. On the lowest scaling, it will be 4 levels, and the highest one, which is basically the world levels up to you whenever you do level up. And why this reasoning is, I guess because they feel like they have to keep everywhere fresh. There's always combat for you to do that is not one-shotting everyone. This defeats one of the purpose of progression in RPGs, because sometimes when you visit the low-level areas, it feels so good. Oh, now I can roll these bitches. And the other way around, I never felt the difference of an enemy that's equal or 1 level higher than me. Probably one of them had more health and the combat was even more grindy, which most of the open world game is mostly that, unless you want to cause mayhem and trigger bounty hunters, which I admit was one of the better parts of the game, but that's besides the point. The main point here is that if you're level 10 or 1, the combat feels the same, and the items are not helping, it's just a gear check for the most part. Not that you can get a good build, it's just a gear check. Equip the item with the highest number, and that's it. Yes, I know I'm being unfair because I have to mention the talent tree as well. You could say this is the saving grace for the gameplay because it unlocks some of the coolest abilities and one of them achieved meme status.
Surprise, motherfucker.
And this would be a good territory if it was not capped and it wasn't forcing you to pick other stuff. I mostly go for an assassin warrior build, with my focus being on assassin, and I'm already forced into warrior. There were times that I was considering picking archery talent, not because I use the archery, just to spend the points. And I will not get nitpicky about this if the game gave me enough points to spend, which happens at the end of the game. You can have almost every talent by the end. But when I was progressing, this felt like the game's forcing me to go into the direction that I don't even want. And the final point is that it's capped to the main questline. You have to reach certain points to unlock other tiers, and for the main questline you have to do side quests, and one more time, considering the microtransactions. Side note is that it gets better. When you reach certain levels and you unlock good perks and legendary items start to show up, you do have a better time with the progression and start to have actual builds. Which reminds me of the common talking point about Final Fantasy XIV, which is an MMORPG, and they say for the first 40 hours of the game isn't at its high point, and you have to sit through that, you have to work through that. Which is also supporting my point. If you have to work through content until the good stuff happens, it's a failure in game design. There's no excuse for that. And it's also another reason for you to consider the XP boost. And what other major content exists that you can do in this game? The naval combat. It returns like in Black Flag, but it's very discounted. In my opinion, it's because the cannon just hits another spot, and I am waiting for Skull and Bones, which I don't think it will ever release at this point, but I digress. But the progression for the ship requires money, crafting materials, and ancient tablets. As for the money and crafting materials, there are ways to get good money. Just being aware of it is just okay. You would get enough of them for your ship, and there are various ways of doing so. But the ancient tablets, they are like the maps from Black Flag, but far worse. You just find them with your eagle in ancient ruins, and the locations are mostly filled with some enemies. And remember, the enemies are scaling up to you, and there are parts of the world that you just can't visit in the system until you level up to that region level range. So it's also tied to the leveling up and the main quest and going through the side quests until you can do what you want. And another time for you to consider the XP boost. Now that I have made my points about the game being so enforcing about its side quests, I want to say that in other games in the series, this was not the point. I played Revelations recently and I like the crossbow and the tombs. The main quests are not so long and the crossbow is just behind an in-game money paywall. Not microtransaction, in-game money. And I could just farm the currency however I want for that. And the tomb is just 10 collectibles which isn't tied to anything. Get to the main city and you can do it. Also in Rogue, I really like the legendary ship battles. And after you unlock the ship, and after a prologue, you can do that however you want. Just bring a decently upgraded ship and you can do it. Although that's grindy, and I was raiding and pillaging other ships like so much, but I enjoyed it and I got to the point and I did it and I uninstalled the game. And the side quests in this game take the largest blame in my opinion, because you're forced to do them. And what pains me is that there are some good side quests in this game. Believe me, the writing and the variety in these side quests are some of the better ones that I have seen in recent games. Yes, it still suffers from the repetitiveness of doing camps and whatnot, but the writing is good. But what pains me is that I didn't remember a single side quest after my first playthrough. And before I started my second playthrough, I actually started searching for them on the internet. And I was baffled because some of them were really good. And I have done them on the first playthrough. And why did I not remember them? And my guess is that it's not that they were not memorable. The feeling that I am working in this game and the chore just made them a blur in my memory. Before I began the second playthrough, the game in my mind was just the main quest, the combat, and a huge blur of things, which the majority of them were side quests. And I don't think it's because of the world being this massive world that you can get lost in. We have had games which were far longer than this one, the main one being Skyrim. And I have a video next week about why I think that is. But Odyssey just suffers from a system designed to make you consider a solution for a problem that was artificially created to make more money. And the other thing that pains me is that RPGs were not like this and should not be like this. And I fear that they are getting a bad reputation for these type of games. And Assassin's Creed as a series have been this pseudo live service game. Not the monetization scheme, but in terms of what we're getting, the games get an engine upgrade or overhaul, and each consecutive game is an upgrade to the previous one. Revelations is the final form of Assassin's Creed 1, Rogue is the final form of the Assassin's Creed 3. Unity and Syndicate, I can't comment on them, but Valhalla is the final form of Origins. And I will not bother with Valhalla at all. Maybe the Forgotten Saga, which is a roguelite mode, but I'm not gonna bother with that one. And it seems there's another pipeline starting with Mirage, the next game in the series. And the focus of those are not being this giant open world bloat. And in Valhalla, they sold XP boosts as well, only this time, from what I'm hearing, the side quests are so bad. Everything that I'm reading on the internet, they're just these one-timey fetch kill that quest, but still just wanting to make more money and selling you that XP boost and the microtransaction and all of that. And I fear for the next game, to be honest with you guys. Ubisoft, if it wants to continue making Assassin's Creed at this scale, they should have the money. And the money is speaking. Open world games do well. I don't know why, but some people pay for the microtransactions, all of the armors, all of the XP boosts. I don't know what will happen with the Assassin's Creed Mirage. The cosmetics will be there, I'm sure of that, but I hope nothing else will plague that game and future games as well. And yeah, that was my video. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like if you agree with me. Comment down below if you have other opinions or you agree with me or you want to suggest indie games. And let's just end the video. Oh, by the way, subscribe. Yeah. Bye-bye.